Hey guys, Godfather of Anxiety here. Just wanted to do a short video on what I think is one of the worst symptoms slash consequences of anxiety and depression. And that is the self-centered nature that develops as a result of these conditions. And I don't believe it's talked about enough, because the thing that makes this symptom slash consequence of being severely or clinically anxious or depressed so bad is that it destroys relationships. It can destroy your reputation. And the thing that I want to say right from the jump, is that we are not selfish people in general. People with anxiety disorders and people who battle depression, especially people with anxiety disorders, but even depression, generally they're people who care a lot. That's why these conditions are having the effect they're having. Anxiety, the root of anxiety comes from how much you care. If you have nothing to lose, you don't worry too much, right? House money. It's like when someone takes a free throw and it doesn't matter the result. They'll make 20 in a row. But when there's something you care about, that's when the anxiety begins. So I wanted to talk about this and the way this develops. Again, it doesn't come first. These are not selfish people who become depressed and selfish people who become anxious. These are people that, as the result of a clinical state, become obsessed with, in the case of depression, you become obsessed with your own pain, your own emptiness. And in the case of anxiety, you become obsessed with your own fear, your own worry. And both of them are equally destructive to relationships and actually to just living your normal life, right? So I think that I want to just do a quick video on this, and I want you guys to realize how to come out of this. Because when you're in the deep throes of a clinical depression, or you're in the deep throes of an anxiety disorder, it's going to be really hard. You're going to be self-focused, because if you're cutting someone's leg off, they're not going to worry about what's going on with someone else. They're going to worry about the fact that you're cutting their leg off. And that might sound overly dramatic, but if you've had panic attacks, if you've had the kind of depression where you maybe didn't want to be here anymore and felt that level of emptiness, you know what I'm talking about. It's very hard to focus on something else when you're hurting so bad, or when you feel so little resemblance to the person that you are. So, before I give you guys, how to overcome this as you recover, because again, you're going to have to get treatment. First of all, guys, I always advocate for finding a mental health professional and getting treatment. That's your quickest way to get better. Also, confide in a friend or a loved one. It's very important that you don't carry the burden by yourself. Obviously, you want to pick somebody who loves you and who has some empathy, right? Not the tough love person. That's not the person you want to, although ultimately they might be a great person to be around. But in the very beginning, that's probably not the person you're going to want to surround yourself with. Once you start to recover, that they can be amazingly beneficial people, because they help you see reality, and it can be very beneficial. But I wanted to touch on a couple of times in my life when this self-absorption was so bad that it made it so that I wasn't really there for my loved ones, and in particular my wife with the first one. So it was probably around 2005, I think, and my wife had a miscarriage, and they had to do a procedure. It was really scary. Um, and I was so clinically depressed at the time that I couldn't be there for her emotionally. I remember sitting in the recovery room and, you know, I pretended, guys. I tried really hard because I knew that my wife needed me. But I still wasn't thinking about what she was going through. Here she is. That at first they thought it was an ectopic pregnancy. You know, we were worried she, you know, something terrible could happen. Ectopic pregnancies are nothing to mess around with. They can you know, they can cause tremendous bleeding and people die from them, right? If they're untreated. So you know, and I wasn't able to be there for her. And I remember sitting in that room and I was so angry at myself for not being there for her. I was angry. I'm like, how can you not be there for her? She needs you now. You know, and I was trying. I was trying to say the right things, but it is really difficult when you're so lost in your own pain to go through the motions or to pretend to be there for someone emotionally. And people are smart. People know when you're not really there, right? My wife knew for the 6 years I was untreated for anxiety and depression that I wasn't really there for her. I remember one of the first things she said as I recovered was, "You're starting to sound like you again." And boy, did that make me feel good. But, you know, so that was the first time. And again, it doesn't help your depression. It didn't help my depression to realize I was so lost in my own emptiness that I couldn't be there for my wife. It makes it worse, right? And then the other time I can remember, and this is tough to talk about because I thought it was all behind me at this point. You know, guys, I've been battling these things for 22 years. But in 2020, when the pandemic happened, because of the absence of all the things that I use to treat my anxiety conditions and my depression, which is staying physically active, number one. Exercise is huge for me. And then our social connections, right? Whether it's our family, whether it's extended family, whether it's people that are, you know, the glue in our lives, right? That we go to and visit with, and none of that could be done for the first, say, year and a half, 2 years, especially, you know, I have elderly parents. My dad's had 2 strokes. I don't want to be the reason for something terrible to happen because I brought over, you know, a deadly virus or something. So it just kind of interrupted everything that I use to keep my sanity, so to speak, or to keep myself from regressing back into having clinically diagnosable anxiety disorders. And so in 2020, the second half and into 2021, I became obsessed because of my muscle twitching. I became obsessed with the idea that I had ALS. And I had muscle twitching since 2008, but mostly in my calves. Starting then, I started getting tongue twitches in every muscle in my body, you know, all through my legs, my back, my shoulders. Guys, I thought for sure I was a goner. And I couldn't think about anything else. And I couldn't believe that condition turned back on. It was infuriating to me, but it did. And, you know, everybody in my family needed me during the pandemic, and I was able to work, but it was really difficult, and I was not there. I had become self-centered again. I had, you know, I'd gotten back, I had regressed into asking my wife, you know, if I was slurring my words, and if I didn't really put a limit on it, I would be doing that for, you know, I would ask her that 100 times a day. And, you know, just other things. I remember one time someone in my family, I was trying to get their attention to ask them a question about that, and they just flipped me off because they were fed up with the questions, the reassurance seeking, and the obsession with the idea that I had, this terrible illness. So, and, I thought I had ALS. So it was just, those 2 times were the 2 that I thought of for the video, where the self-centeredness really, I think the first time because of the seriousness of what was going on, and the second time because I thought it was behind me, guys. So don't ever get discouraged if you have a relapse. It doesn't mean it's not, you're going to deal with this for the rest of your life. If you put in the work, guys, you're going to be okay. You're going to recover. Even if it's a relapse, you already have the tools, right? If you have a relapse, you already have the tools to get better. It might take medication, it might not, but you can do it. You have to trust that. So now let's talk about the good stuff. Let's talk about how to get better. And the neat part about the therapies to get yourself out of being self-centered is they're going to make you happy too. They're going to make you feel good. They're not going to be easy though, especially, guys, like I say, if you're still in the throes of it. But as you recover, one of the first things you want to do is start helping others. It does not have to be something big. You don't have to, sign up for some big volunteer project. I mean, that's great if you can. But, help your partner out around the house. Whatever it can be the most simple gesture in the world. But anything to get you outside of your own head and to get you interacting with the outside world and with other people again is going to be therapeutic. It's going to be helpful. Another thing, and this is something that was impossible for me the first few years I had anxiety disorder, but active listening. Guys, when you're engaged in a conversation with others, listen to them, make eye contact, ask them questions. This is really important. And at first you might feel like you're pretending, but you might actually get lost in what they're saying. And that will be therapy. When I was first, when I was untreated those first couple of years, I would just nod my head. People could have been saying anything, and I was nodding my head because I just wanted the conversation to end as quickly as possible. But active listening, that's another thing you can do. And the thing about the first 2 things I mentioned, boy, they're gonna make you feel good, because it's always good to make someone else, let them know you're there for them, and then to help others. This is why people who have lived largely selfish lives give to charities and stuff, because they find that giving actually makes you feel good. So, that's an important thing. Check in with loved ones. People, you make sure you stay, involve yourself in the affairs of the people you love, but not in a intrusive way or in a way where, you're being a busybody or something, but to show them that you care and to get your mind off of yourself. And also, you want to work on your empathy. Most of us, a lot of us with anxiety disorders have a lot of empathy, but we lose it when our conditions get bad. So you got to work on your empathy. Think about why people, what they're going through and why they feel the way they feel. But this is important. This is a big one. When I was doing the research for this, self-compassion. So when you are having thoughts that make you self-absorbed, don't punish yourself. Remember, it's a condition. You're not really a selfish person. You're a person with a mental health condition that tends to make you self-absorbed. So don't judge yourself when, like I've had to work through some of the times when I wasn't there for my family. But I can, judging myself harshly is not going to help now. And what you really are concerned with, where your power is, where your power to change is now. So don't get caught up in, you know, the negative thinking. And that's going to be the last thing I'm going to mention. The next to last thing I'm going to mention. First I'm going to say engage in activities that require focus, whatever it is. For me, I love to play sports. I love to be physically active. You know, try to do something like that if you're in an age and a health range to do that. If not, find something, a hobby, an interest, something that really engages your mind and you have to focus on, and do it. It's therapeutic. It'll keep you from, even if it's for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, it'll keep you from thinking about yourself and either the anxiety that you have or the or the pain that you're feeling from a depression. And then finally, guys, it comes down to what I always talk about. Challenge the negative thoughts. So if a thought is leading you, if it's going to be one of those thoughts that leads you to either catastrophizing or being self-absorbed, you want to recognize that and you want to question it. Is this logical? Is it logical to think this way? So those are the steps that you need to engage in to recover. And guys, you can do it. No matter how much you can fix, or if you feel like your reputation's been damaged by this, you've acted so unlike yourself, and you've been, relationships can recover. You know, my wife and I, it's been almost 30 years now, and we have a really good relationship, and we've been through some tough stuff, and there's been a lot of forgiveness, but both ways, like any marriage, right? But you can work through it, and you just put in the work, and you try, when you are not lost in yourself, make up for all the times that you were. Be there for the people who love you. Do things for them. Engage. Listen. Be a good listener. These are all things that have helped me, throughout my recovery process, to mend the relationships that I had damaged while I was, very sick. So that's about all I want to say, guys. Thanks so much for the engagement with the channel. Keep it coming. I want to have a community on here where we can share. And, worst case scenario, you realize you're not the only one out there dealing with this stuff, right? So thanks so much. And until my next video, take care.